My girlfriend and I found out a while back that her sister and brother-in-law are expecting their first child. And while we were really excited because this would make my girlfriend an aunt for the first time, they really wanted to keep a lot of the details about the pregnancy a secret. Later within the pregnancy, they had a gender reveal party, so they found out that they were having a girl, yet they wanted to keep the name a secret. They were really trying to hide it. By happenstance, we kind of figured out a little bit of clues that would help us try to determine what the baby's name could be. They were decorating the nursery, and basically how they laid it out, we essentially found out that the first name, the middle character, was the letter D, and we think that there was an odd number of characters in the first name. Now, using that little bit of information, I thought it would be fun to write a Python program that would cycle through an entire list of girls' names, or a long list of girls' names, and see which names fit that criteria and see if we can actually guess the name. The rest of this video is sort of me explaining how I built the program, and at the end of the video, I will let you know whether or not I guessed correctly. Before showing you the program itself, I thought it'd be good to kind of walk through the logic of how the program is going to work using this little example shown on the screen. I made a small array of names, there's 4 names right here, with an example function that is going to go through each name, and it will print out a statement on whether or not it would be a viable name given what we know. So that essentially if it is an odd number of characters, and if the middle character is a D. So I'm going to build it right now, and then you can see in the console down here that Maddie is a possibility, Sadie is a possibility, Addison's middle letter isn't a D, which is true because it is an I, and Jade's name has even letters, so that has no essential middle letter. Looking on the left side of the screen here is the program itself, and I commented out some of the stuff for now. But if you look on the right side, you'll see a list of names: Emma, Olivia, Ava, Isabella. This is a list I found online of the 1,000 most common English girls' names. I just copied and pasted them into a blank document. I saved it as a TXT file, and then I ended up loading it into my program over here. So I created a variable called word file, and I saved it into the same folder as this program itself. And then I loaded it in using a function that I called load words. And all this does is it prints a little statement, and it ends up letting you know how many names are loaded. But in order to do that, it opens a file, it reads it, and it takes every name here and it puts it into a list, and then it returns that list. So when I call the function right here, I assign it to the variable name list, so I can use it later to determine whether or not the name is valid. And if I were to build this real quick, you can see on the bottom left, loading girl name list file, 1,000 names loaded. If you look further into it on line 52, you can see that if you look at this TXT, there's another part I commented out that says word file containing 2,287 girls' names. When I originally built this whole program and ran everything, it only gave me 10 different possible girls' names that met both of the conditions, being that it was an odd number of letters and the middle letter was a D. I wasn't very confident that the name was on the list, so I found a longer one. Now, when I did this longer list, you can see it right here. You can easily tell right away that they have a lot more iterations of so many different names. However, when I copied and pasted it online, I had some issues, and it looked like this. This was all in one line, all a jumbled mess. So I had to do a little bit of programming in which I turned it from this jumbled mess, I split it into an array, which you can see right here, and then I just wrote a new file called longergirlsnamelist.txt, and I essentially just wrote it so it looked like this. Pretty simple. It actually gave me a little bit of a headache trying to figure it out at first, but once I got it figured out, it was pretty easy. So anyways, I'm going to comment this part out, and then I'm going to rerun it. It's been acting up, so I hope it, whoops, I hope it runs. Let's see. So now if you look on the bottom left side, loaded girl names list from file, 2,287 names loaded. So before we get into the end of this, was a little bit to learn, but this is a really good practice to get into because you're always going in programming, you're always going to be pulling new different files and working with other data sets that are outside the program itself. So it's very simple learning. This is pretty basic, but it is a good exercise to get into. So lastly, we're here looking at the function that I wrote that will actually do the determining on whether or not the names are valid. On line 75, you'll see that I defined a function called possible girl names, and it takes one argument called namelist. And recalling earlier, I wrote the function called load words that assigns an array of 1,000 words, or actually it's 2,287 names to this namelist variable. And when I call this function down on line 95, you can see that it uses that name list as the argument. I'm not going to go through the entire function itself. We kind of went over it earlier, talking about the logic of how it works, but essentially it takes the names and it checks whether or not it meets both the criteria, and then it returns only the names that fit both, being an odd number of characters and the middle character is a D. So if I run this real quick, you will see on the bottom at the console, it reads out loading girl name list from file, 2,287 names loaded, and there are 41 possible names. Now, of these 41 names, there are actually duplicates. So Candace is spelled multiple ways. You have 3 spellings of Isadora, 2 spellings of Jaden. And so these 41 possible names are actually only 33 unique names. And of these 33 unique names, I feel like we can narrow it down even further because I've never heard the name Clodagh. It sounds pretty catchy, but I'm pretty confident they're not going to name their kid Clodagh. Same thing with Mildred. Seems like a bit of an older person's name. I really hope they don't call their kid Mildred, or otherwise I'm going to feel like a dick for saying that. But looking at all this, yeah, I'm pretty confident that this is a pretty good list of names, and we can maybe feel pretty happy with it. The next shot will cut till after I've found out, so I'll let you know whether or not we were close. I'm not sure if I'm going to say the baby's name itself, but I'll let you know whether or not at least the program worked. Now that you've seen how the program was run, I can kind of reveal that I essentially guessed one of the names properly. I'm not going to reveal the name of the kid, but I will say that it is sort of a different pronunciation of one of the names that was on the list, sort of an iteration of it. So I'm pretty happy. It kind of feels like the program worked. And this program itself was pretty simple to make. So if you're trying to get into programming and you're trying to write a simple code and learn the basics, this is a good one to write if you're looking into it. I'll leave a link to the source code in my GitHub down below. So if you'd like to try it out for yourself or see how certain things were written, you can go down there. If you liked it, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. And I might make some more videos like this in the future. If I can come across more interesting topics to make programs about or other kind of builds, I'd love to share it if there's any interest. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time, thanks.